solutions that can unlock this problem.
All right. Mheshimiwa Kerrow, the other day the Council of Governors at the same press briefing where they threatened a shutdown, they accused senators, the sitting senators, of betraying devolution. And that is after, and like I said, I hosted Kwame Win on this subject as well. And he said, where the National Treasury is concerned, often the Treasury will tell them this, and they will ask, how high should we jump? So in most times they will side with the National Treasury. But then the Senate has historically been known to be, in his words, the sobara of the two houses of Parliament. But in this instance, they agreed with the National Assembly, refused to increase the allocation, and retained it at 385, despite the recommendation by the Commission for Revenue Allocation to give counties 407 in the Division of Revenue Bill 2023. Do you, having served as chair of the Finance and Budget Committee in the Senate, what sort of pressure do you come under?
No, I think what happened in the Senate, let me first start, was really shocking. I mean, Senate exists for one purpose: to serve the interest, to protect the interests of the counties. That institution was created in the Constitution primarily for that purpose, so that national government does not ride, roughshod on the county governments. That's the primary reason. So at all times, we've been in the Senate, in the previous two Senates, 10 years. The Senate has always been at loggerheads with the National Assembly because of that they had always stood by the interest of the counties. And so always, had that argument. And we have gone into mediation several times, to try and get an agreement on the Division of Revenue Bill. So it was shocking when Senate voted, and said, no, we stand with the national government. There's no money. Even what you're getting is too much. I had some senators say from one of the arid parts of Kenya, say, even what we're giving is too much. We should in fact reduce. It comes from one of the poorest regions in this country. And so it's a shame what is happening. But it shows you how much things have evolved politically in this country, that we are now going to a situation where literally our politics has become like a one-party system, where everyone wants to bootlick the government. Everyone wants to be seen to be politically correct and belong to, even those who are in opposition. The rich ones, people are all jostling to join government. So this is unfortunate, and so what will happen is that is what I keep saying, is the death of our institutions. When these institutions die, then we will not have a country. I'm telling you. Today, what is happening is this lack of independence of institutions which have been created by the Constitution to be independent, including Parliament. So I think what Senate did was really very unfortunate, and it gives you an indication of the tough times ahead for counties and for devolution in general. Because what will happen now, the national government will take cue from that look, if Senate has no problem, maybe we can not just delay. They can do away
altogether.
They can do some things that would have more adverse, effects on the running of counties. So I think what is happening is not a very good sign. Because that checks and balance, the checks and balance that provided in the Constitution is critical. Those institutions were not just being created; they were created to ensure checks and balances, so that one arm of government can be checked by the other. But when you have a situation where everyone seems to pull in the same direction because of political expediency, then we lose. We have dropped the ball, and I think that's not the way to go.
All right. So as I keep mentioning, I have a Mwakenya in my ear by the name of Roslyn Obala. So she's asking, how did you handle the pressure? Just as I asked
pressure
previously.
Is there. You see, national government will always want to have their cake and eat it. But what they don't seem to appreciate in this Constitution is that the way we have structured our revenue collection is that all taxes will be collected by national government. So whether you are in, Laikipia or Mandera or wherever you are, every shilling that is to be collected in terms of revenue is collected nationally and then equitably shared out. And the criteria are all set out very clearly. Of course, the criteria in the Constitution is also very clear, and I think it's part of the reasons why National Treasury does some of the things it does, because it starts off by saying the factors that need to be looked at in determining how resources should be shared between the two levels of government and starts with the interest of national interests. You know, the first item becomes the national interest. The second becomes the public debt. You know, the third becomes, you know, the development agenda and the national government and so on, and then county government. So the Treasury seems to think that the way those things have been listed, that they have been ranked deliberately, so that the national interest is always something they waive when they come to the Senate and say, look, national interest, we need that one, must be set aside. When we were in the Senate, national interest was the laptop project, was the Galana Pulalu. And we kept saying, I mean, you guys, this cannot be national interest. But those are the things that they would. So, and then the public debt and so forth. So the pressure by national government on Senate and everyone has always been there. But I think it's about, you know, institutions are as good as the people who are there.
Indeed.
So if the people who are there stand up firm and say no, and we went, I think 3 of the 5 years I was in the Senate chair, we went for mediation. And we had to agree in the mediation between the National Assembly and the Senate on how much. Otherwise, we would not budge. And, you know, and that was our position as much as possible, to try and stand by what the CRA recommended. But quite often, I think what has happened in the last 10 years is to arrive at a figure between what the CRA has, the Commission of Revenue Allocation has recommended, and what the Treasury wants. We arrive at somewhere in the middle. But a situation has not arisen before this year, where National Treasury's figures are the ones that are endorsed by Senate, you know, without any pushback. Any fight, any pushback. I think that is so the pressure is there. Yes, you know, Treasury, State House, all of them calling, you know, guys, you know, we have no money. We say no, but you see. So I want to state 2 things before I conclude. And I think he alluded to it earlier. The 2 things which are very critical. One, in that criteria set out in the Constitution, the question of the functions that have been cascaded down to the county government is critical, because the resources will follow the functions. So if the functions have been given out to the counties, the funds for that should be given out. So that's primarily the way devolution was designed. And so when Kibaki in 2003 you know, gave out those functions, his administration, they actually gave us substantial amount of functions at once. For example, in health, over 90% of the functions of the health ministry was devolved. Similarly, agriculture. But even those ones that have not gone, like in water, like all these water service boards and all this water, you know, in the Constitution, clearly it's in the functions, it says it must go down to the county governments. So you have a situation where function has been given to a county government, but resources are not being sent. How will those counties now run? That's number 1. Number 2, which is very important, is that these resources, once they have been determined in the bill of the division of revenue, must be sent to county governments without delay and without any deduction. This is what the Constitution says. That means it's not a favor by Treasury. It's not for national government to try and canvass, you know, you guys, we have got challenges. No. Whatever has been determined as due to the county government must be sent immediately. That's what the Constitution says. So